At long last, the return of Bleach the 1000-Year Blood War arc. Yo, what's good, it's your boy TYBW. With some spoilers of the new episode of Bleach the 1000-Year Blood War arc, you have been warned. I love how the episode begins with what appears to be the birth of the Quincy King, and then you see the mother holding the child. According to these visuals, this guy was human before, and a lot of people seem to have worshipped this baby from the moment it was born, and then the baby shares its power with the people, with those red streaks sort of representing his power being spread around what appears to be the Quincy society. I'm just wondering, where did the Quincy King get this power from? I know he was a baby and it looked like he was born with this power, but where did it originate from? Regardless, that was a pretty haunting sequence of events. With all the arms raised in the air, damn, that gave me the chills, dude. After the main theme song, the Quincy King says something that really caught my attention. When Uryu comes on stage, he announces that he is the last surviving Quincy in this world. What does that even mean? Aren't the rest of the people in the crowd Quincy's within the same world? I have somewhat of a theory. I feel like these Quincy's that are all looking up at Uryu on stage were possibly all frozen in time, and around the time the Quincy King awakened, they all awakened at the same time, which explains his sentence. But I could be wrong there. But it looks like a lot of the Quincy's do not accept Uryu as their new successor. Everyone, especially the dude with the mohawk, expected Jugo to be the successor, but it seems that he turned this offer down in favor of Uryu. But like I said earlier on, I was quite surprised that we spent quite a bit of time with these Quincy's, particularly the girl with the purple hair. Her full name is called Bambietta, and she's a bit of a weird one, this one. In order to get her frustrations out, she picks certain boys that look good looking to her and splits these blonde boys like a salami on a Subway sandwich. That scene when she split the dude in two really caught me off guard. I thought they were in some sort of relationship at first when she wanted him to come to her room. But yeah, a lot of these new characters more or less feel like characters I've seen before. For example, the dude with the mohawk reminds me a whole lot of Renji, and the guy with the blonde hair reminds me a whole lot of Uryu. So far, Bambi is my favorite out of all of them. She's just a really interesting character, and her powers are quite mysterious. I wonder how she did that, splitting the dude in half. But let's talk about Uryu. Uryu confronts the Quincy King on why he was picked to be the new successor, and it looks like the Quincy King kept Uryu alive for a specific reason. If you remember from the previous arc, the Quincy King mentioned that when he was revived, he took the powers of Quincy's that he deemed unworthy, but it looks like Uryu was kept alive for a specific reason. That sequence of baby Uryu in the graveyard was so sad, but my gosh, was it beautiful to look at. I've never seen a graveyard look that pretty before. Apparently, reading his grandfather's notebooks, he found out the answer as to why he was kept alive. I know the Quincy King is in some way related to every single Quincy via his blood, but I feel like there is a specific connection between Uryu and the Quincy King. Uryu mentions that he knows the truth as to why he was kept alive from his grandfather's notebooks. The Quincy King seems to be a pretty damn secretive person and wouldn't really spill this information out to just anybody. So I have a theory. Is the Quincy King his grandfather? And if that's the case, why not pick Uryu's dad instead? It's just a theory, but honestly, I'm not buying this whole act of Uryu wanting to serve the Quincy King. Yes, he has this sort of love-hate relationship with the Soul Reapers, but it doesn't seem to be in his character to do something like this. I feel like he's gonna pretend to go along with the Quincy King, and in the last minute he may stab him in the back. Who knows, I just gotta wait. As an anime only, I'm really hyped. The rest of the episode, we see Kurosaki Ichigo enter this mysterious place, a sacred place where he must surpass a Soul Reaper. The garden is pretty damn interesting. It seems to be raining, but there are no clouds in sight. The new head captain of the Soul Society mentions something pretty interesting in this scene. He talks about how the Soul King is a pretty cunning man, and he isn't sure if he's acting on the best interest for the Serite. He tells Nano to forget what he said. I found what he said to be quite bizarre. Can the Soul King see and hear everyone in the Serite? We've not seen the Soul King except that he's this blue-like Smurf man with sparkly powers. Very mysterious. It's great to see Hiyori and her little gang. I feel like we haven't seen them since the original Bleach series, and having them back, I just started to realize that, man, this show feels so bloated with the new characters and the old characters returning. It's reminded me a whole lot of Game of Thrones and Stranger Things Season 4. There are just so many characters at this point. and cutting back and forth between all these different characters in this episode felt a little bit exhausting. And speaking of characters, we get another scene of some old faces, Ichigo's classmates Keigo and the gang. The Squad 8 captain, who is now the new head captain, confronts them, telling them that Ichigo may not return to the human world because he is quite concerned of the new power Ichigo may obtain and master, how it may affect the world of the living, and Keigo was not a happy camper. Honestly, it's quite surprising seeing Keigo acting all angry and defensive. I remember him in the original series being this sort of side character goofball. This was something that Tatsuki would probably do, but he gives the gang these soul cards to enter the Soul Society to visit Ichigo in the worst case scenario. I really don't like those words, man. I'm starting to fear for our boy Kurosaki Ichigo now. Inoue and Chad are in the Wakemundo world training some of the Arankars, and there seems to be this mysterious person in a robe who seems to be watching them. I wonder who this person is. Could it be one of those girls who bullied Inoue in the old seasons? We get a flash of Ichigo's family, and I honestly forgot there was a time skip, so seeing the two twins looking older was quite surprising. And the episode ends with the Quincy's invading the Soul Society yet again, covering the entire place in this red mist. The Quincy King declares that he will take over the world in the next 9 days, and that's it. Overall, this episode was a cool setup episode for this really interesting arc. I have so many questions involving the Quincy King and Uryu, and who the Soul King truly is and his motives. Could they have picked another area besides the Soul Society to battle? I'm getting a little bit tired of seeing the Soul Society every time they fight. Can't they go to another location? It's just a small little nitpick. It did feel quite bloated with all the new characters and old characters returning and being introduced, but the animation's looking good. Overall, I'll give this episode a 7 out of 10 and I'll give it a B+. Overall, what did you think of this episode? Tell me. Like this video, subscribe for more anime reactions, reviews, comparisons, breakdowns, rankings and more. But thank you for watching, and as always, a boy dude review signing out.